Big Talk, hosted by Canary Mugume.
On 106.1 Next Radio.
106.1 Next Radio. This is the Big Talk. Canary Mugume is my name, and welcome all of you listening and watching the show, whatever you are. Tonight on the show, we focus on the current happenings in the country. President Yoweri Museveni has just sacked top officials of Kampala Capital City Authority, and this include the KCCA Executive Director Dorothy Chisaka, Engineer David Ulimbazi, Deputy Executive Director, and Dr. Okello, who is the Director for Public Health. What next for Kampala? But also later look into the conversations around 2026 when it comes to the comments by General Muhoozi over the weekend that this country will never be ruled by a civilian. What exactly does it spell for 2026? In the studios tonight, I'm hosting Henry Kasacha, who is a political analyst. Henry, good to have you on the show, and thanks for always making time.
Thank you very much, Canary, and good evening, our listeners. I'm happy to be on the Big Show once again.
The Big Talk.
Big Talk.
Yes. Let's begin with the current event just happened this evening. Is the president really acting because he has been under pressure, or is acting because he acts on evidence? He does refer to the IGG report.
Right. Well, I think that the president acts on evidence, and sometimes he acts for politics. The issue of Kitezi was a big disaster to this government and to this country, that we lost so many people who up to today we have no count of the people who disappeared. And this was a big disaster. So really somebody had to pay. Whether you are responsible, whether you were part of the problem from the beginning, whether you were just in the office at the time it happened, because if it was not for the heavy rains, by now business would be as usual in Kampala, and the garbage trucks would be going to Kitezi. So it was just a disaster that came, and a disaster that came out of accumulated negligence on the part of the political leadership in Kampala, but also in this country. Because Kampala, as a capital city, is really under the central government. So bottom line is somebody had to go, and there's no way Madam Chisaka and the deputy could survive. At least they were the first on the line of victims.
As far as I can remember, covering President Yoweri Museveni, this is I think the first group he's sacking over incompetence in the current years. I think so. For civilians, I think this is one of the latest groups that he's sacking over incompetence. We can also speak about the politics in it, but why do you think it took him this long?
No, actually, I don't think he has sacked them for incompetence. He may have sacked them because of
the letter that released by PPU does indicate criminal negligence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Criminal negligence is not incompetence. And criminal negligence is subject to further investigations. Because what you see is that he has said if people have died and somebody had to protect their lives, the law is very clear. Somebody can be investigated for criminal negligence. And that's another story. However, this is not the first report the president is receiving. And he's acting very swiftly is because of public interest and the public outcry that she says was a disaster. So there was need to demonstrate that action has to be taken. And this is why we are seeing the president acting very swiftly on Kitezi. Otherwise, if he was looking for incompetence, there is no way that the minister of Kampala would have survived. Because Kitezi is Kampala is under the central government. There is a minister in charge of Kampala. Yeah. And there's no way this minister was just enjoying all over the place without noticing that this was a problem. So if it was real political accountability, where without any investigation, without the IGG coming in to say these officers were negligent and they could have done this, there is no way the political leadership would have survived if the president was going for real Chisanja Hakuna Mchezo.
Right. In your own opinion, what's next for Kampala? Kampala is filled with a number of issues. Waste management is just one of the problems. You have traffic, you have potholes, you have bad roads, you have a number of issues, and there's not been any substantial figures that have been appointed in that position. What do you think is next for Kampala? We'll delve into the other issues later.
Of course, the president has requested the Public Service Commission to advise on the best way to avoid the political vacuum, which I think a process will happen administratively. There will be no vacuum in terms of leadership. But I think what is important for Kampala is politics. It is the political decisions that have to be taking place. Whatever is happening in Kampala, we're just commenting. This decisive action of the president in trying to make somebody pay, because regardless of whatever it may, when you have been responsible for something, you either step down if you feel that the system is not moving, or you pay the price.
Right.
And if this happens when you're in office, there must be somebody paying that price. But the many issues of Kampala have not had substantive attention on the part of cabinet, because I think that much of what we see in Kampala is determined on cabinet positions. I mean, we have a state council here, but it has to implement government position on Kampala. So whatever the slow pace, the roads, the potholes, the garbage, whatever, it's because it has not raised the political priority. And this was the reason why the constitution was amended to make Kampala a separate entity, to put it under the central government. So after all these years of KCCA, when Kampala is under the central government, I think it has not yet reached the level of getting serious government priority in terms of acting on so many of these problems.
Right. Yeah. Joining us on the show is Honorable David Kabanda, Member of Parliament for Kasambia County. Good to have you on the show, Honorable.
Thank you, Canary, for hosting me this evening on the Big Talk. And I'm happy to meet my mentor, Mr. Kasacha. When I had just joined the Youth Council in 2010, he took me through many things that happened at the National Youth Council. Yes.
Great.
Contribution. You cannot doubt the products of some of our work.
A contribution on many of us.
Honorable, we wanted of course to later discuss the conversations happening around 2026, but news came in this evening and disrupted the current affairs.
I see.
And given the fact that the leader of PLU, General Muhoozi Rugaba, has been in the affairs of KCCA, you tweeted a picture a while ago with him and Dorothy Saka.
I don't tell the listeners the caption I put.
They are already looking at and commenting around it. But what do you make about the sacking of the top KCCA officials?
Of course, I want to, for the first time, congratulate His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, because I think for some time I don't remember him taking such a decision on people in public service. He has been maybe making decisions on politicians. He has fired a number of them, Kim Makubia, Saida Bomba, the ministers that were involved in the Karamoja Iron Sheets.
And even the army itself.
And even the army. But on the public service, I don't think he has been interested in it. And he has been consistent, saying, wherever he has gone, that you see, if you want to fight corruption, don't concentrate on the politicians. Concentrate on the public service. Gomborora, Cow. So I think he knew, but he had no interest in sacking most of these people. And this one I may not say it here, but let me say it. I didn't want to say it. The Minister for Kampala, the Honorable Hajati Minsa Kabanda, and her State Minister went to the President and requested him not to renew the contract of the Executive Director.
This is before Chitez.
This is before Chitez, even before the contract was renewed. I don't think their contract has run for more than 3 months before it was. This new contract must have not run for 3 months or 4 months. And the President gave his reasons and called them and said, you people please work together for the reasons he gave them. But of course they had seen what was happening, because you cannot work with a person who's more powerful than you. Even if you advise, they don't listen. And maybe the President needed to respond even before the investigations of the IGG, because when you are being investigated, you step aside, you give way. But these people have even been in office. Can you imagine if we tell the listeners, the President of South Korea, what he did about the same incident that happened in South Korea? It was a firing squad. So here, the President, I think, has been massaging.
Generous?
Yes, has been, not generous, but has been massaging these people. They should have left the offices. The day this thing, I think it must have been on a Saturday morning. The day it happened, that's the day these people should have left office. Because there are so many recommendations, not from the politicians, but when this matter came up before the floor of Parliament, members were saying, we brought so-and-so we brought an investor to come and turn this into this. But the leadership of KCCA refused. When we asked the minister said, no, it's not me. It's the ED. You see, the ED is very powerful. You can imagine the minister confessing on the floor of Parliament that she had an idea and she welcomed people from somewhere to come and develop this Chitez thing and maybe turn the garbage into something else. But because what they didn't want, when you turn garbage into gas, now the facility ceases to be under your command. It goes to the Ministry of Energy. So they still wanted to manage Chitezi. The moment you say you have now surrendered Chitezi or the garbage to be turned into gas or anything, now it ceases to be under you. Now this was just, you see, we have always talked about rationalization in Parliament. It's not coming out of goodwill, but because some ministers think some EDs of different MDs are more powerful than them, so if they take away these MDs to be under them, now they are going to be powerful.
Let me interrupt.
That's politics at play.
That's politics at play and not helping the community.
Well, that's quite interesting.
One of the reforms President Museveni introduced in this government is he made a very powerful civil service. This country can run for a full year without ministers. And he can run on his civil service. Number two,
Except, Mr. Kasacha, except that he created agencies
Yeah.
that are not within the structure of public service,
yes,
where you have engineers, for example, going to UNRWA and engineers going to the Ministry of Transport, but the two do not earn the same. The ministries earn a little lower than those that do work.
PSCs.
Yeah, the
you
PSS,
see
yes.
that's okay.
Then
I mean,
those that do work in the
that's why I
parastatal-
support Parliament
the parastatals are
to
too
create
powerful.
the rationalization. I support Parliament entirely to create the rationalization because that's the only way this country can move in a systematic manner. But secondly, for politics, nobody in this country can command power without the authority of the president. So if you see the minister complaining to MPs that the ED is very powerful, the ED cannot be powerful unless she has the ear of the president. And you see, that's another problem. The minister cannot go to Parliament and complain that the AD is very powerful when she knows or he knows who appointed the president and why the president does not act on their recommendations. And the fact that the president said, go and work together. You see, go and work together. I mean, stop fighting. You know, sometimes the president is very, very diplomatic in the way he deals with the conflicts. Sometimes people come and he says it's just a fight. But ideally, he knows what is happening. He knows why the ED has insisted on a position, and the ED has justified that position to the president, and the president has allowed the ED to continue. This is why we started with Jenny from CC.
And they had given them a chance.
Yeah, but you see, the ED has gone, not because the president has been convinced of incompetence, but there is a report, and people have to step aside to be investigated for criminal negligence. Rain came, and we had a disaster, and people have to go. But otherwise, like he said, the president would have acted way back without any notice. You can even terminate the contract in public interest. When you assess somebody's performance, they're a good cadre, but they are failing to deliver, you can relieve them of their duties.
A month later, we can say,
I am just seeking clarification from you.
yes,
Have they been asked to step aside or they have been fired?
No, this time they have been fired.
dismissed.
They have been dismissed.
Dismissed is the word.
But even without the IGG's report, the president has powers to fire the ED, even without the contract running.
Yeah, he quoted the Constitution in the press release by
Yeah.
PPU. But
Yes.
I want to ask, a month later, isn't it a little too late? One, you have people stuck in tents in a school that is supposed to be starting, that should have started, I think, a week or 2 weeks ago. You have people who have not found their loved ones buried under garbage. But also, most importantly, you have not found a plan, both immediate and long term, for the garbage in Kampala.
We have a minister for disaster.
Immediate.
You see now, after the disaster, these people are paying for their negligence. They are not responsible for resettling people and getting schools. We have another department in government.
What I'm saying is that the disaster has already happened and has caused all this that we're faced with as a city.
Yeah, but you see,
It's a little too late.
it's not too late because there has been an investigation, due process. Ideally, if
You
you
give
ask
them
the IGG to investigate, and the IGG has investigated, you have to follow due process.
Yeah.
So to avoid this politicking, you say these guys are fighting, they are blackmailing me to the president. He now has an IGG report, which has now come out and it's on the table, and he's acting on that report. So I think natural justice demands that instead of running to say, Kisaka, you have failed, create an investigation, because she can go to court and say you have wrongly fired me. But in this case, we now have a report of an institution of government which has been established and was investigated and made recommendations, and it is within the power of the president to act on this recommendation.
Let me ask this, Honorable Commander. We've seen President Museveni act differently in some instances when there are disasters, and there are people accountable. There are people who should be on the line, who should be actually held accountable. We've seen him go silent. We've seen him act otherwise. The Mabati issue is one example. Now, should we say he's acting because it's closer to the political cycle?
No, firstly, Canary, you will allow me to disagree with I wouldn't want to disagree with my mentor, but on this one you should allow me to disagree with him. When you say the president has now got found the basis of firing someone, it is also not right. It's as if you're shifting a blame. You don't want Chisaka and her group to say the president is the one who has fired us. He actually didn't want to fire us. He's basing on a report.
Right.
So the president is so nice. The president wants.
Being nice to the Kisakas.
You see, you just being nice to a person who has neglected her job, and you know how many people are stuck even up to now in each case. So many people have died.
But you see,
And you're playing politics. You want to say, it's not me who has fired you.
Honorable Kavanda,
Let him finish his point.
It's not me who has fired you.
it is this report.
It is this report. Then you are not a leader. A leader must be held responsible for whatever that happens in his or her office.
Then in this case, it would not have required a full month.
Yes, that's what I
The
said.
president would have got the news about the disaster, got immediate briefings on what exactly happened.
I mean, criminal
and who was
negligence.
responsible.
I think there was already analysis online that came out 3 weeks ago that had already shown there was criminal negligence. News came out, there was this letter. We interviewed KCCA top officials. They agreed and admitted that this letter was true.
Chisaka here.
Yes.
And the president could act on all this information.
I hosted her here in the seat that you seated on, and she said that she would have resigned a long time ago if she had done nothing. She said she had been doing something.
But the minister is on record on the answer of Parliament of Uganda, blaming her executive director to have defied her orders. But you have been around for some time, Canary. The president has been everywhere. Where they shoot so and so, the president comes in immediately. You remember when they shot
Chirumira? I was on scene.
You were on scene, and you were the one who was holding the camera, and he said, "Please switch off the camera." He was there on spot. It happened at around 8. After 13 minutes, he was there. We have not.
And he came all the way from Naria.
He came all the way from Naria, and the SFs had not even deployed. He said, "Let me go and see what has happened," because it was involving something. The gun. But now here, we have never seen him in each days. You take that for granted?
So what does that say? What are you trying to say?
Because you don't take these things serious.
People of Chitezi.
He
has failed the people of Chitezi.
You don't take it serious. That's why you have taken...
So here there should have been 2 leaders who should have resigned.
You have taken a month without even...
Visiting them.
And
you're attending celebrations and Thanksgiving.
And you're going you see some of these things they hurt, even when you want to defend the government. You
But
don't
at this point the president appears insensitive.
It could be because it is in Chadondo East. and that is Chadondo East.
Let's take a break and talk return shortly.
Big Talk, hosted by Canary Mugume.
On 106.1 Next Radio.
Yo, don't turn off the radio.
It's official. 106.1 Next Radio. We'll be right back.
Tuli wano leero Divine College Wakiso okutuusa obweyamo ew'omuwanguzi waffe owa school fees kubanga abadde akozesa pay with Momo okusasula school fees za mwana we era awangudde school fees za term 3.
Nze nkolera kakati naye kinyanguyira okukozesa MTN Momo olw'okubanga transport okuva kakati okujja eno Kampala emitwalo 6 nga nyiga *65*8 nakozesa MTN Momo nga balance yali asigaddeyo nemusasula kakati nange nafuuse omuwanguzi mu MTN Momo ndi musanyufu nnyo abe MTN otujjiza bazadde bannange ngakubiriza okozesa MTN Momo kubanga MTN yesigika MTN mazima wamu.
Together, we're unstoppable. Boss, I was having a heated argument the other day. About what? The smoothest Scotch whiskey in the streets, bro. My buddy and I couldn't agree which one takes the day. Yo, that's easy, bruh. The answer is right there. In black and white. The answer is in black and white. You're slow, my man. I'm talking about the one and only black and white whiskey. Smooth, made for sharing, and affordable. Who can beat that combo? Yeah, right. That's right. Treat your friends and family to black and white. The smooth Scotch whiskey made for sharing. From Scotland, the home of whiskey. Buy a 750 ml bottle at a retail recommended price of 50k or 375 ml at 25k and enjoy it neat, on the rocks, or with a mixer of your choice.
Excessive consumption of alcohol is harmful to your health, not for sale to persons under the age of 18.
Excuse me.
Don't miss this chance to live your dream. Dial *278# to play now, or on MTN *165# and Airtel *185# at authorized shops or at www.nationallottery.go.ug to sign up and play online.
Uganda National Lottery. Dream, play, win.
Participants must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba Uganda is regulated by the Uganda National Lotteries and Gaming Regulatory Board.
My Monday is Gaga, Tuesday is Gaga, Wednesday is Gaga, cause every day is a Gaga vibe. Cheers, cause every day is a Gaga vibe. My Thursday is Gaga, Friday is Gaga, my weekend is Gaga, cause every day is a Gaga vibe. Cheers, cause every day is a Gaga vibe.
Gaga every day with MTN. Hit *100*0# or use the My MTN app to load your favorite Gaga data bundle. Together, we're unstoppable. MTN. Terms and conditions apply. MTN Uganda is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. 106.1 Next Radio. Big Talk, hosted by Canary Mugume.
On 106.1 Next Radio.
106.1 Next Radio. This is a Big Talk. I'm Canary Mugume, and tonight on the show we are looking at the sacking of KCCA top officials, and that includes the Executive Director, her Deputy, and Director of Public Health. In the studio tonight, I'm hosting Henry Kasacha, who is a political analyst, together with Honorable David Kabanda, who is a Member of Parliament for Kassania County. I want to ask, Henry, looking at the events today, what next for Kampala? What does Kampala need? Because there's been a lot of conversations. First, we had a lot of fighting. You remember when Honorable Muhoozi Frank was the helm of the Ministry of Kampala, and then there was Jennifer Musisi, and then there was Lukwago. There's always like fighting. The political and technical wings never work together. To avoid such disasters, to make sure Kampala works for the people of Kampala and Uganda, what do we need?
Well, Kampala needs governance. And governance means that people have to focus on the policy issues that are affecting Kampala. We need to see very little of the politics. From the days of Frank Tumwebaze and all the ministers fighting the Lord Mayor, the politics took center stage. And the idea of trying to show who is who and who can veto who took center stage. And this has costed the people of Kampala. In some cases, government will not act because Lukwago is being stubborn, or they think that Lukwago should be exposed as a failure. And that has also become a big problem. So Kampala needs little of the politics of who is who, but to focus on the policy issues and build synergies between the leadership of Kampala, the elected leadership, and the government policy. I mean, this idea of confrontation and taking positions, we have seen enough of that. And I think that with due respect to all sides, I think they have done more of that than fixing the real governance problems of Kampala.
Looks like the officials inside the KCC cannot fix the problem. It needs someone that pretends over them, like the president, to be able to fix the problem. Where do you think the president needs to adjust a little bit to make sure the two wings work together?
No, I think it's about establishing a working relationship that recognizes the different organs, that recognizes the different power centers and the different roles people have to play. And the problem we have is that many people within the leadership of KCCA have somehow, for one reason or the other, forgotten that we made an amendment that their leadership is now in the law has to work and implement government policy. Now, if you are campaigning and when you assume office you actually have to implement government policy, you are making initiatives that sometimes are outside government priorities. And this is where the problem starts. Because what you think is what should be prioritized is not what government is prioritizing. Yeah. And your decisions have to implement government policy. Now, that is where the problem starts. So the fighting starts. From the word go, they begin fighting. We want this, and the minister says that is not happening now. And they feel
so there should be consensus within all the leaders to be able to...
There must be consensus. There must be consensus in government policy towards Kampala. They must involve all the stakeholders, including these elected leaders, because Kampala is unique. People vote for a leadership that works to implement a policy from another point. We amended the law to say that. The districts in Wakiso, these people elect their leaders who can implement their manifestos. But when you are elected in Kampala, the overall law is that you must implement government policy. So if you are going to implement government policy, and you find that you are not able to slot in what you want, you begin sabotaging council, we've seen them fighting, they are adjourning council, they are calling meetings and putting them off, because they feel they just want to use these show-offs as a demonstration of political presence. I think the milestone or the yardstick of strong leadership in Kampala has been on defiance. That if a council meeting can flop, then we as councillors have demonstrated power. If this cannot happen, then if we have a stalemate, the other day they were fighting.
Throwing chairs
in Kampala.
So if you were a president, Henry Kasacha, if you were president, what would you put into consideration? Because you've handed them power and authority, you've handed them instruments of power, you've handed them a budget, you've had everything. The fact that they cannot work together, us as residents of Kampala, makes us sick, and we want social services.
If I was the president, I would institute a consultative process on the priorities of Kampala. And this process should generate our position as government on Kampala. And through this process, we have to implement. Nothing stops them from implementing. Nothing totally. Even now that they have said these are our priorities. If the councillors do not want, the government can go ahead and implement. But the priorities of government are also slowly being implemented because of the politics. Because the entire Kampala is red and blue. And that is also an issue. If the president can continuously remind people that Mulonda will be, and that is going to cost you. So it comes down to the bottom line that even if he wanted Kampala to be exceptional as a capital city, the voters in Kampala are still voting the opposition. And he wants to work, he has reservations on working with some of these people. Because politically it pays that after 15 years of Elias Lukwago, and people are now coming to your conclusion that he's just fighting all his time, maybe some will change and say we cannot vote somebody who is just fighting. So it also has politics involved. And there are some people who not like government to run this process because they want to use this politics to survive. Okay. So I think what is needed for Kampala is a consultative and stakeholder engagement, even as government develops its policy priorities for Kampala.
Thank you. Honorable Commander, what should be done to make sure Kampala works for the people of Kampala and the people of Uganda? This is the capital city. A big chunk of the GDP is generated here. But when you look at the roads, when you look at the drainages, when you look at how Kampala is being run, it's in a sorry state.
Canary, first of all, Kampala is not exceptional. There is nothing big about Kampala. Kampala can be run like any other administrative unit. like any other district, like it used to be. But what needs to be done here in Kampala is the law. That law, the KCCA Act, needs to be repealed. It's very useless. Whoever brought it with an intention of, maybe it was political, because this law is the one that brings in the confusion. The Lord Mayor says, I have the power. The ED says, it's me with the power. The minister says, still, it's me with the power. Now the president is also there saying, but you see, this law says, the KCCA Act says that Kampala is under me. So they are all fighting for power. You see, you saw the chairs the other day flying in the KCCA hall. Who are fighting? Not NRM people, opposition people.
NUP and FDC.
NUP and FDC. And the FDC was accusing NUP of getting money from somewhere to fight the Lord Mayor. You see, it is all about power. Who's powerful in Kampala and who suffers? The Wananchi. Because the ED wants to show power, because the Lord Mayor wants to also make himself relevant to his voters.
Do you find Kampala overgoverned? You have two ministers, you have a KCCA, ED and her deputy,
Yes.
and then you have a Lord Mayor and a deputy, then you have City Hall with the mayors and the councillors, and you find it
The
overgoverned.
president is also there. So now you
And
asking
you have the lead of PLU coming in to supervise roads.
not to supervise roads, to work on them. Because I have seen SFC working on some of the roads. Haven't you seen? They are all over. They have worked on a road from Fairway up to State House. They are working on roads in
Could have worked on better roads, really.
Kororo, and the president was in Kororo, again praising SFC and UPDF. You see, now you're asking, whom should we blame as a country? Should we now blame the Lord Mayor? When you blame the Lord Mayor will say, no, it's not me. Me, I don't have the power. Now, when you go to the minister, you ask the minister will also say, no, it's not me, because you see, me, I am just there, I am a shadow. When you go to the ED will say, no, all these problems are caused by the Lord Mayor and his council. Now, you are asking, when you go to a district like Mugende, and because Mr. Kasacha here said, we need to run this country systematically. I liked the word. Now, when you go to KCC, you don't know where to begin from. Whether you should blame president, minister, state minister,
Lord
Mayor, ED, and then those other people that you mentioned. Because you see, even this, who deploys their people? Still the Ministry for Presidency. Because they say these ministers are also under the Ministry for Presidency. So Babalanda can also come in somewhere and say, no, you see, I am the one now who's in charge of this. They are all under me. They are all under the presidency. Now, what needs to be done is to repeal this law, to know, so that we run Kampala systematically. We know the hierarchy of Kampala is like this. Lord Mayor is there, I have my council. And then they say, the Lord Mayor and his executive, they have not passed the budget. So for us, what should we do? Now, blame games. KCCA executive director is saying, the Lord Mayor has not passed the budget, that's why we are not working on your roads. And then the Lord Mayor says, you see, we didn't receive the Kolicenda from the Ministry of Finance. So we don't know how much is budgeted for KCCA. We are not part of the budgeting process. So our MPs are, then the president says, you see, Mwalonda will be. And now, the Kampala person now is the one who's suffering.
Yeah.
The law.
And they should never suffer because of their choice.
Absolutely
Because
not.
they all pay tax. All right, gentlemen, let's switch gears. I want us to comment about General Muhoozi's comment on when it comes to 2026. Talks about civilian rule that will never happen to Uganda. He does put out tweets and also says that it does endorse that President Jerome Museveni should go on and contest for 2026. PLU members should go on and align with NRM. I want to begin with you, Honorable Kabanda. Where does this leave you as PLU members? As Secretary General?
Yeah, Secretary General.
Hey.
Of a civic organization.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've
thank
been
you.
getting a lot of questions. And
Very many, yes. Many people have been calling me to come and explain.
And yet you've been going around the country telling people this is our next president, 2026.
Yeah, I've mentioned that.
Must be tricky.
It's not tricky. I've mentioned that several times. My brother Canary, and it has not been coming from me. The general himself has tweeted thrice, I think. So for me, as a follower of a person, when he says, I am going to do this, then me as his general secretary, I say he's going to do this until he changes his statement. He said, in 2026 he will be 52 years. The elders should allow them to take charge. And he assured his supporters and Ugandans that he will be running for the presidency in 2026. Then another tweet, he said, he put a picture of Fidel Castro and said, enough is enough. This is our time. We must run our country. The corrupt must pack their bags and go home. 2026, I am coming. So for me, if I keep quiet and say, you see, he's not sure, he's joking, then I am not believing in what he says.
No, you must be confused as his Secretary General.
I am not confused. The president Yoweri Kaguta Museveni said that 75. He said the figure. You remember he said the figure because you can't go beyond 70. He said, then the man asked him, so are you sure you're not coming back after beyond 70? He says, certainly not. Then after he came here and he amended the constitution. He removed the age limit, and we are all not confused to say. But the man said that he's not running beyond 75. Are we not confused? I'm not confused. Unless for now, General Muhoozi has advised us for us that all of us. Because some people have been saying, we are going to register a political party, we are going to want to remove NRM, and we want to fight President Museveni. Now he has guided that, no, you go there in NRM and take up positions in NRM. So we are now going to grab the positions. They are there now for grab.
You may not be, like you said...
I can go for Chiwanda's position now.
Yes, you may not be confused, but now you must be disappointed.
I'm not disappointed because you see, you must have been around or you must be reading. Supposedly the president has asked... Maybe this is not an opinion from the Secretary General, but as an individual, covered as an individual. What if the president has said, now you see, for you to survive the insults, you say you are not running in 2026, and then you later you declare that no, the people have requested me, the pressure is too much, people have been coming to me, I am now running next year. Because you see what, me, I am a supporter of Trump. I support Trump. And if we had stayed with Biden, we are going to beat him very early in the morning. But things have changed now.
You have a new player.
We have a new player, and things have changed. You see, when you are watching, even when you watch Fox, which is for Trump, you see somehow they are also scared. They are not sure whether Trump is going to win. So, and this has happened within a period of only 4 months, from August to when are they having the elections? In November. And you see, things have changed in 4 months. You have been here, you have been covering NUP, you have been covering People Power. If Chagulan had participated in the 2016 elections, even if he had participated for LC3, he would not go through. 2016. Because he was nowhere in the equation of politics in Uganda. But 2017, he comes in through a by-election, he becomes an MP, he campaigns for a few people, then he went to Arua, you know what happened. From there, he said, but this man, he has even gone to Arua and campaigned for someone, he has even gone through. He can be a presidential candidate. Then he was there running here, 2022, 8 months to an election. They get him now a political party. Nope. 8 months, they got 57 members of parliament. There is no political party on the opposition side in Uganda that has taken more than 50 MPs in parliament. But Bowen has achieved it. Uganda, the politics is it is very difficult to understand. General Muhoozi, and by the way, when you go back and read his tweets, he never said that he's not going to be president in 2026. He only said, I am not going to be on the ballot.
What's the difference, Honorable Commander?
What if Museveni wins the 2026 elections, he appoints him vice president and he resigns? Magufuli won the presidency, appointed Samia Suluhu after 5 months.
In the event that he died.
But in the event that this one resigns, what if he says, first defeat them for me, and they come?
But, Honorable Commander, that's confusing your own supporters.
We are not confusing our own
supporters. It shows uncertainty that does over the PLU. But let me put this to Henry Kasacha. What did you read through the tweets of PLU leader? They called him the supreme leader. When I see the tweets of Kawanda and Badam.
Yes, he's our master.
You know, General Muhoozi has been very successful in establishing himself and building loyalty and support beyond question. When people begin calling you the supreme leader, they begin calling you a principal. You are next. It's only you between them and God. And you reach a level of loyalty that nobody can question you. Nobody can question what else came in that divine intervention, because it was divine intervention. God spoke to him, and he told him, focus on the military.
God spoke to Mama. You know,
listen to
this information.
Yes.
The first lady, when she was going to run in Ruhama, the president said, but you say the NRM has not allowed. He said, no, God told me. So it's not NRM.
Maybe we should question your mentorship.
So now, General Muhoozi says, God spoke to me. He told me to focus on his army. But nobody is interested in finding out whether God told him any other thing apart from that. And that is where loyalty comes in. It becomes like, I don't want to use, when people believe in you too much. And this is what has been lacking within the NRM circles. That there was a time when President Museveni had full loyalty across the country. He would meet the caucus, and he would talk to the caucus, and nobody would say anything. Today, some people even heckle. Today he has to convince the caucus. The caucus, the NRM caucus of today is not the caucus of 2001.
No, not of 2016.
Of 2016.
Yeah, this is different.
Now this caucus, perhaps he needs money, he needs briefing, he needs to meet. I mean, the resistance the president is getting from the NRM members.
Let me give you just one information. When he came before us in Kororo, when he was presenting the bail bill and coffee, we refused and said, we can have a showdown. If we can have a showdown. I can see you are resisting my proposals. They said, hey, you come.
You see? So now that shows you.
They told the president.
The MP said, you come.
You come.
You come if you are.
And remember, when they are electing speaker, they delayed in Kololo because the president was still convincing one group to vote for one candidate. One group had become very, very, very stubborn. They had ignored the position of the SEC, and it had the president to hold them in Entebbe to convince them. Now, this is not the power President Museveni has had on the NRM leaders. Once he has given direction, many people have always followed without question because they believe, regardless of what they see, he has the best direction. Now, this is what General Muhoozi enjoys. Today he wakes up, he says, God has said I is focused on the army. And there is nobody within the ranks. And by the way, it has now become like some group.
But that's the thing. For PLU members, and I'll put it to Honorable Commander, for them, don't they have their own ideological grounding to say this is what we believe in?
No.
As opposed to being swayed whichever God says.
Theirs is the general.
Honorable Commander, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Before he responds, they are not even interested in what he stands for. They have loyalty towards him as General Muhoozi. Whether he's going to focus on the army, whether he's going to overrun Kenya, whether he's going to do what.
Isn't that a bit unfair to them? Because I think...
Because PLU has no policy position.
It's not a political party, it's a civic organization. Of course it confuses all of us, but
that is how special operations run. That's how special operations are run. You know, General Muhoozi is special advisor on special operations. That's how they run. When it fits, you call it a civic organization. When it fits, it declares a candidate. When it fits, it's now...
being spoken to by God.
Being spoken to by God. Now he's dispatching people to go wherever they want. As if they have no direction. Actually, right now, this Honorable Commander would be taking charge of PLE to guide how they are going to go and grab.
He has established an office just behind here, NBS, that does makes visits. But Honorable Commander, what I want to understand is when people went to the bush in 1980s, they were ideologically grounded. They knew this is what we believed in, and they knew this is what we're going to fight for. PLU, I understand, you put it out, I think, a couple of months ago that you are against corruption, you are against... NRM is tired, you want to relieve it of its duties. You also want accountability. So you come off as a group that is being swayed whichever way General Muhoozi does go.
When you do have a leader, Canary and all the viewers, the president, the idea of going to the bush was not started by many people. Was started by only one individual called President Museveni, who declared that if they rig my elections, I'll go to the bush. Alone, he declared alone. And then he had a meeting, according to what he says, and when you read his books, they had a meeting in Makindye, and they had meetings, a few meetings, and 41 people decided to attack Kabamba with only 27 guns. I think they returned when they were 30 or 20 around 20,000 soldiers. So, you do sit down when you look at YK92, I don't know whether you have followed it. YK92 of Kenya, they say a 5 group of young people sat at Boulevard Hotel and an idea was born. So those who follow you follow an idea that was born. The idea, most of the people you see following General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, including those from the National Unity Platform and FDC, some want a transition. And they have realized that this, you can only achieve this when you support what President Museveni supports. Some. For us who believe in General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, we see a leader who's action-oriented. Because for General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, if you're not a man of action, he's not going to work with you. Even the president said one time, you see, for you people, me, I am massaging you on corruption, but Muhoozi is not like me, he's not easy. So for those who want accountability, like you have been fighting for it here, how can you say that Uganda has the expensive kilometer of tarmac in the world? Are you aware of that?
Yes,
as if we are in Karamoja.
And the president is in charge.
And the president is saying, you leave my people. You see, when they steal,
they bring back the money to invest in the country.
They build here hotels. Now you see, you IGG, if you start running after them, they are going to take away the money. And you see, we need now the money into our economy. You leave my corrupt people. Kindly leave them. Because they are constructing the hotels. Yeah, they are building whatever they are building now in Uganda. And then you say, that's not the Uganda we want. Because we have enough money. Canary, if you go to Rwanda, I don't want, they have stopped me from praising Rwanda.
For reasons I know, but
they have stopped me from praising Rwanda, compare Rwanda to Uganda, maybe for the reasons you know. But if you go to some other countries, the other day I was in Nambole. Countries were hosting their games from Nambole. Zimbabwe was hosting Kenya from Nambole. Kenya was hosting Zimbabwe from Nambole, and then later Zimbabwe also hosted Cameroon from Nambole. How does it feel as a Ugandan when you see other countries coming to your country? Don't we have the money that can have Namboles, maybe 4 Namboles in Uganda? But when you hear, they say, you see, so and so has run away with their 40 billion. And then when you talk, they say, but this one is against the movement.
So Honorable Kabanda, let me ask you. That's why I earlier asked if you are confused as PLU. You're now going to join, which you've been through, NRM, a group that is governing a country that is not in alignment with what you want. Because they now directed you as PLU, now go back to NRM. If you are not in NRM, go to NRM. Now you're going back.
What you do, you buy an NBS and make it what you want, even if you don't change the name.
Yes, but on assumption that you will be a majority shareholder.
No, you buy it. They have told us we are the majority. You buy NBS and make it what you want.
Who tells you as PLU you are the majority?
We are the majority. They also know. Why do you think they are scared of us? They have been insulting us everywhere they go.
Who's scared? The NRM has structures right from grassroots level, LC1, LC2, LC3. They are embedded in the entire governance structure of this country.
Canary.
You are a pressure group that just came up a couple of 2-3 years ago.
Are you not aware that these structures are infiltrated by NUP?
If they were, then they would have leaders right from
because they do have leaders. Most of the areas in the
structures are infiltrated by NUP.
Absolutely. Because this one I know. Do you know what they used to say? I have somebody here who told me my PA said, but you see me, I support Kabanda. I want to vote for him in the primaries, even if I am no. But in the general elections, I will not give him. So the structures are infiltrated already by the National Unity Platform and FDC. What they do, they go and discuss and say, but you vote for the other one. He's a weak candidate. You know what happened in the East? Nani? Kasozi, Honorable Kasozi.
Ibrahim,
thank you. Ibrahim Kasozi was maybe a friend to Honorable Robert Chagula, and you know how they were distributing their tickets and told him, you see, I don't want to leave FDC. I don't want to leave FDC. I said, but you can get us another person there and we give him a ticket whom you think cannot win. I said, but we can get this Mcholimani with the Nyeko name. Who has been even in NRM. So when people now, they started saying, whenever you see an umbrella, you just stick. Whenever you see an umbrella, you just stick. So Nyeko wins. When he wins, he passed through, in the open roof, not thanking people. People started asking, who's that? He said, he's MP. Who?
The one you voted.
The one you voted. Who? Nyeko. He said, we voted for Nyeko, not Kasozi.
Mm-hmm.
You can see now the confusion that was within our people. They even voted for things that they don't know. So you cannot say we cannot infiltrate the NRM structures. I am already there.
Honorable.
Did you see the proceedings in Guru? All members of parliament, almost half of the parliament that was in Guru, they introduced themselves as members of PLU. Even a motion to pay tribute to General Muhoozi for what he did in Guru was moved in Guru by Honorable Danichi Mosho and was seconded by Honorable Jessica Babiku from Western Ireland and the Honorable Catherine Ramwakaf. They were paying tribute to General Muhoozi for what he did for the people who the entire parliament was introducing. My name is David Kabanda, MP for Kasambia, a member of PLU.
Okay.
So we have so many of those.
Honorable, Henry, let me ask, given this context as we conclude this conversation, how do you see 2026 shaping up?
No, 2026 is going to shape up this way.
We, at some point, thought if PLU registers as a political party, we're going to have it as the biggest opposition political party, and it will have the lead of opposition.
Let me also give a clarification on that before he comes in. PLU, there is no way how, I have mentioned it here, I think on the morning prison. PLU, there is no way how can PLU register as a political party. It will never happen. I have told people that if PLU is now to register, to turn out into a political party, it has to find another name. Because the Patriotic League of Uganda is already registered under URSB as a non-partisan organization, a non-denominational and non-sectarian. So there is no way how now it can go and change and register in electoral commission as a political party. That can never happen. They cannot allow you. They will say, but this name, the name you are bringing, it is already
so honorable
as a civic organization. Even if you are to do it.
On that question, before I invite Henry to give his view. So if, as PLU people, members, you are under NRM.
Some are under other political parties.
Okay. But when it comes to parliament, when it comes to voting, when it comes to policy, when it comes to bills, when it comes to motions, you will identify as NRM. PLU will cease to exist. PLU does not exist as a pressure group or civil organization group anywhere in Parliament, because Parliament is where policy is made. When it comes to this, you have been a member of Parliament. You are under NRM. You know you do not identify as PLU in Parliament.
I do not identify myself as PLU in Parliament. Like any other member of the National Unity Platform does not identify themselves as people power.
Yes.
People power is for
perfect example.
People power is for mobilization. But inside there, you are noob. Outside, I can be Patriotic League of Uganda. But legally, I am NRM.
That clashes with your own loyalty for the party.
It doesn't.
It means you're using the party.
No, it doesn't, because my chairman has tweeted and said, those who want to run for political positions...
Which chairman?
General
So that's the thing.
Yeah, General has said, if you want to run for political positions and you are a member of PLU, please go and participate under the NRM primaries. Not ANU. Which means whatever he has been doing even helps NRM. Those who have been saying that we are fighting NRM, it helps President Museveni. Now he's fishing people from other political parties into NRM, including those who have now openly said, like Kagabo. I saw you, were you hosting Kagabo?
Yesterday.
And he clearly said, I am now ready to go and join NRM. Isn't that a plus for General Museveni? Isn't that a plus for NRM? Muhoozi has done it for NRM.
Okay.
And I continue to urge our supporters of Patriotic League of Uganda. Some have actually said, no, we are not going to support President Museveni. Supposedly the president had said, no, you support Muhoozi. You people of NRM, me, I'm not coming, you support Muhoozi. And they also say, no, we are not going to support Muhoozi. You think we can win without him? So if we cannot win without President Museveni, let's also not be selfish. Let's support him as for now. If my chairman changes his mind and says...
And he's retired from the army.
And he says, I am coming, then the NRM will support us. Let's not clash with NRM.
Mr. Kasacha.
Well, I think that what we're seeing is that PLU or General Muhoozi, there has been a vacuum in NRM, a power vacuum. NRM is a group, it is a mass, it has no clear power centers. That is why it has become so rebellious. Even in Parliament, it's like they have no commander. They behave like there's nobody in charge and nobody is overseeing. You know, when there's no class teacher in class or the monitor is not there, everybody does what they want. This is what the NRM has become. And such an organization becomes extremely dangerous because it can swing any time, ignorantly, or it can be manipulated. Now, what you see PLU doing is PLU is now beginning to organize a force that will become a power bloc. And by being a power bloc, like he has told you, that when General Muhoozi says God has said we vote for this, we are moving back to the days of Haji Agambi. Because when Haji became Haji, he just said now Resigi and all the support shifted. Now within the NRM, I doubt there is somebody who can command that will move this way. And they move without any question, like what General Muhoozi has done around PLU. These commanders you're seeing in Parliament, they are saying they are PLU for mobilization. But they are field candidates across the country. And when the transition begins, they are looking at the next Parliament to have a substantive vote. If PLU can have 200 loyal members in the next Parliament, they are going to shape the transition of this country. Really? Because whether President Museveni is around or not, the transition must begin next year, after the elections. So it is those groups that will be in the political system as organized groups. Now, currently the NRM, a group that can heckle their leader, even publicly, even on closed meetings, they now heckle him publicly. They put him on tension. They want money. They do this. He's begging them. Now, you cannot be with such a group at a
holding him at ransom.
They're holding him at ransom. This has never happened. And nobody has been able to help President Museveni reconsolidate the NRM to begin behaving that way. Because through such behavior, they can even lose direction and they can be manipulated.
Right.
So what PLU is doing now, and this is where you should focus PLU, this idea that go and contest is not honest. It's not just a simple idea. I mean, I'm sure that these commanders contested for MP under PLU much as it was not declared. There is already, if you look at the dynamics in Parliament, you can see people who are moving like they're on signal. And this group is expanding. It will determine the next speaker. It will determine the transition. It will determine the next government.
So we should take it seriously.
So when you look at them going into politics and you think they have just... And what General Muhoozi, to me, I've never thought he was coming for 2026. It was only 2026 that would be the nucleus to bring all these people together. The support for General Muhoozi is not because of corruption. Because somebody is in court for corruption charges, you are protesting, you should be released. Then you are saying you are committed towards corruption. If one of your own has been taken to the system, ask for a speedy trial. But
they will come with thief.
You see, that shows you that issues of corruption are being used opportunistically because it's one of the things. Bad roads, I come, JNPLU comes. SFC is making roads, but they are making these roads that the president is using. They are not going to Chiseka Market. These are now, we can even interpret them as security roads.
No, we are now on William Street.
Because they have perfected security roads. So at the end of
We
the
are now on
day,
William Street.
at the end of the day, what we are going to see is PLU is going within, it's entering NRM. For the first time in many years, we are likely to see a block within NRM. Not like be taking over positions. We are going to see a caucusing, a lining up, a syndicate.
How sure are we that President Museveni is not going to neutralize General Muhoozi? Because you are on assumption that he's going to allow all that go on under his watch.
And I can tell you, PLU has not come all along without his watch. I think there are very few people that President Museveni has allowed to organize in this country. You remember when he allowed Honorable Mr. Rwabogo, not Honorable, to go around become vice chairman of NRM? Until it was Museveni, president, to convince him to step down for this brigadier. He was the only man who went around mobilizing young people all over, talking about patriotism, what have you. Now, General Muhoozi
He was also the same person who went to Zimbabwe to convince his brother to step down for his...
Now, that shows you that when the president has allowed you to mobilize, you can. Within NRM, he has not allowed anybody to mobilize, and nobody has mobilized. Now, General Muhoozi has mobilized, and those who are not... I mean, everybody wants to associate with PLU just in case this force comes for me. They should find a PLU on my mark. Otherwise, it can become dangerous. So many people who are associating with PLU, some are not genuine, but they are looking at this new power force,
self-seekers,
which can be dangerous.
Okay.
If you are not on Kavanda's side, come the NRM elections, you are likely to be crushed.
Okay.
They will apologize later on.
Thank you.
So many people are crossing over.
Thank you, Henry. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Honorable Kawanda, thank you very much for honoring our invitation to appear here with us for the very first time on the Big Talk. Thank you, gentlemen. Big Talk returns tomorrow 7 to 8. Good evening.
Big Talk, hosted by Canary Mugume.
On 106.1 Next Radio.
Yo, don't turn off the radio. It's official. 106.1 Next Radio. We'll be right back. What happens when two people with